Hello everyone, welcome to my report. My name is Mono, I'm your host, and today I have a review for Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is the third installment in the Thor franchise, this time directed by Taika Waititi, who directed films like What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People. And I have to say, I'm someone who wasn't really impressed with any of the previous Thor films. Thor 1 was okay, and Thor 2 really wasn't anything special, but now I really have a Thor film that I'm actually really quite satisfied with. It's by no means perfect, but Thor Ragnarok really is a damn fun time at the movies, and it's really one of the most satisfying Marvel films to date. While it is entertaining, it does come with a few pacing issues to boot. In this film we have Chris Hemsworth's Thor, in a bit of an identity crisis, following the end of Avengers Age of Ultron. He's been trying to find the Infinity Stones, but he's run into a bit of trouble, where Hela, the goddess of death, played masterfully by Cate Blanchett, has come to Asgard to rule the throne, signalling the fabled Ragnarok, and destroys Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. This leads to both Thor and Loki, Tom Hiddleston back in the chair, being lost to the cosmos and landing on the planet Sakaar, this garbage planet ruled by the Grand Master, played by one of my favourite people in the entire world, Jeff Goldblum. Here, Thor must compete in the Contest of Champions, where he takes on the one and only Incredible Hulk, with Mark Ruffalo returning. Hulk is someone who's been missing since Age of Ultron, and from here, Thor must find a way to return to Asgard with the help of Valkyrie to try and prevent Ragnarok, while defeating Hela once and for all. So first of all, this movie is packed. There's a lot going on. You've got the Planet Sakaar storyline, which is basically Planet Hulk, and you also have the entire Ragnarok storyline, which somehow Taika Waititi is able to balance into a coherent film. I have to say the film does lean a bit more into the Planet Hulk and Sakaar storyline, a bit more than the actual Thor and Ragnarok side of things, and there are often times Hela's story can get forgotten about while we're bouncing back and forth between the Sakaar and Asgard stories. Thor really gets to go through a nice character arc where he goes through this development of really becoming quite powerful and change as Thor and what it actually means to be the God of Thunder. And we really get to see him let loose in this film, which is really damn exciting for people who really wanted to see Thor just go crazy and be the God of Thunder that we all know that he really can be. And really, this is easily the strongest Thor that we've ever seen. It helps that the film is wildly entertaining and funny. With Taika Waititi on board, this is easily the funniest Marvel film to date, where Taika is able to bring more of his absurd comedy stylings that make the film feel a little bit more fresh and different. In fact, the character he plays in the film, Korg, has me super excited to see more of him in the future. I am so happy that there is an alien in the MCU with a Kiwi accent. It's brilliant. One of the best things about this film is that it really quite disconnects itself from the previous Thor films. You get a bit of a mention of Natalie Portman's Jane Foster, but other than that, that entire Earth crew that was in the previous films really had nothing to do with this film, and that's kind of good for someone like myself, as they were the parts of those Thor films that really quite irritated me. This does leave Loki in particular feeling very different character-wise than he did in previous films, where he's much more of an anti-hero here, although his villainous side is addressed and comes up multiple times during the movie. But this movie really does come down to the performances and writing. You can really get a sense of the improv style that Taika Waititi brought to the table. Everything really feels natural and dynamic in the dialogue especially. It just feels right and it doesn't feel forced, especially when you get into more of the lore discussions and dialogue, which usually would get a bit heavy in the previous Thor films, but here it feels fun, exciting, and it feels like you're really a part of things. Valkyrie is spun into a really interesting character thanks to the wonderful Tessa Thompson, who is a fantastic actress. She starts the film incredibly cynical and is essentially an alcoholic, and we get to really see her progress and develop into someone more heroic and proud of her heritage. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot more of Valkyrie in the future. Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk is incredible. He's easily the funniest Hulk that we've seen to date. He's beautifully utilized. We really get to see a sense of progression with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, where we start to see him sort of come to terms with trying to control the Hulk, who's in control, and we really get to see Banner start to be a bit worried about who's actually in control here, whether he can actually come back from being the Hulk and whether he's just gonna be lost to the Hulk all the time. But we get a damn incredible gladiator match between him and Thor that manages to have an insanely fun build-up and execution that the match honestly is surely going to go down as one of the best Marvel set pieces to date. This does lead to my main issue that the movie is stuffed. There is a lot going on in this film. And early on in the film, it can be a bit hard keeping track on who's where and what's going on, particularly once Sakaar becomes involved, where there are large chunks of time spent purely on Sakaar and occasionally jumping back to remind us of what's happening on Asgard. It can just come across a little convoluted, as this also means that there really isn't much confrontation between Thor and Hela, save for the final act. It makes Hela's act feel a little less important than it really should be, and it really just makes it feel like she's just there rather than just being this big imposing force that she should be. And although Doctor Strange is in the film very briefly, and it's always entertaining to see Benedict Cumberbatch pop up, His appearance could have been cut entirely for the sake of pacing, as the character really has nothing to do with the film after he shows up. It feels like there were other ways to get the characters to go where they needed to go. Instead, we end up shoehorning in what's essentially a glorified cameo. That said, the movie does pick up substantially once everything in the film has been established, and we can kind of just sit back and enjoy everything that's happening on screen. And oddly enough, in the age of the overstuffed third act, Thor 3's third act is actually really well put together and quite strong, which is what makes this film really satisfying. Marvel really let Taika Waititi make his own film, and it shows. Everything just works in Taika Waititi's own odd, beautiful way, and it's just perfect, and there really isn't a better way to show that off than by having Jeff Goldblum be a part of it as the Grand Master. And when you add Jeff Goldblum's beautiful weirdness with Taika Waititi's beautiful weirdness, it just creates a whole bundle of beautiful weirdness that everyone just wants to see, and it's amazing. And I have to mention the villain Surtur is utilized in a way that is pure Taika Waititi and is so creative and inventive that I think a lot of people are going to be looking and going, oh, why didn't we do something like that? That is really fun. It is exciting though that the film really does bring some big repercussions and universe-changing events to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a complaint and criticism that I've had of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the past, where films like, I don't know, Civil War in a way had stakes, but they could have been way higher. There was so much more potential to be done with some of the consequences and stakes, just to really amp up the tension and give us a little bit more. Thor Ragnarok doesn't have that issue. We really get something that is going to change things from here on out for the MCU, and it just makes everything really exciting, fresh, and new again, which is what we really want in the MCU at this stage. Overall, Thor Ragnarok is a really entertaining film, and easily the best movie in the Thor trilogy. As someone who had little interest in the character previously from his past films, I now feel far more invested in Thor and where his journey will take him next. It definitely isn't perfect. As I mentioned, the film is a bit overstuffed. It does struggle with pacing in some places, and I think you definitely could cut out some bits to make the whole thing feel a little bit smoother, but it really does feel like a conclusion to these 3 Thor films. But despite this, really feels like an evolution of Thor, and I really can't wait to see where Thor and his universe goes next. Hopefully we get to see a whole lot more of the Mighty Asgardian in the future. Oh, and best use of the Immigrant Song to date. Believe me, you'll want to see it just for the Immigrant Song use. Thor Ragnarok gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Guys, I hope you liked this review. If you did like this review, do remember to hit the thumbs up button, give it a like, and leave a comment down below in the comment section. Have you seen Thor Ragnarok? What did you think of the film? Do let me know in the comment section below. And if you would like to subscribe to the channel, do hit the subscribe button with the little bell next to it, which will remind you of when the Mono Report uploads new content. And don't forget, you can follow the Mono Report on Facebook and Twitter at the Mono Report. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to stay right here for your Mono Fix. Bye, guys.